So it's the year of the snake, and I realized I hadn't done a video about this, um, and I want to, because this is something that's really affecting us all. Um, the year of the snake comes from Chinese astrology, and there's a different animal in their zodiac, and while it doesn't originate from the culture that I live in, it does affect the culture that I live in on our collective conscious level because a lot of people do subscribe to it and are aware of it. And we do have our associations with what the snake is. And it may be different or similar, but our associations with something determines our experiences in life because things are like a hologram. So, what's the year of the snake been like for you? For a lot of people that are coming to me to talk to me one on one, they tell me that they're going through a shedding of a variety of sorts. A lot of people are saying that they're shedding groups of people that do not align with their values. Um, and a lot of people are saying that they're shedding relationships that no longer align with what they want out of life. And a lot of people are feeling they're talking about how they feel like they're leveling up. A lot of the people around me, as far as reaching goals and living their life more of the way they really want to live their life. Um, Snakes shed their skin, and that tends to happen in the summertime or in during the hottest time, which is also correspondent with the time that we harvest. And part of harvesting is separating what will not be reharvested from what will be consumed. That's very like a snake shedding its skin. Um, Sometimes what will not be harvested will be replanted. Sometimes it will go back into the earth. Once a snake sheds its skin, some of it can disintegrate back into the earth, and so on and so forth. We have so many different types of associations that can influence our experience on this journey through the year of the snake in regards to the snake. Some of the most popular, I'll just go ahead and start. The Christian story talks about the snake in one of its earliest stories. And we don't have access to one of its earlier stories because there was a king named King James who had the Bible rewritten so that it would reflect his values, which his values were for himself to be worshiped above all, except for God, and only God would be above him. So, and other kings probably had the Bible rewritten as well. And the Bible wasn't always even called the Bible, there were various books. So, this story is one story that could have been similar or different in a variety of cultures, but it has been promoted worldwide to the point where it's part of all of our collective consciousness. So the story goes like this. There was an experience where everything was heavenly and harmonious and peaceful and beautiful. And then the creator of all things decided that they wanted there to be something else other than that. They wanted there to be a choice between everything being the way that it was or everything or some things being different. So they took this idea of making a choice exist and they created a tree. And they called this tree the knowledge of good and evil. So it wasn't just the tree of knowledge, which a lot of people refer to it as. It was actually the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So it was the idea that you could have knowing that things could be this way or that way. Because before that moment, there was no option to even have a knowing that things could be different. And not only that, but there was no option to not have a knowing that things could be different and we could decide if we liked it or not. Because what is determined good or evil is based upon what human beings like or don't like. So this was this idea of like giving reality a choice, consciousness a choice of whether it wants to stay the same or change, became embodied in this creation of a tree called the knowledge of good and evil, the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And God told those that he created, don't eat from this tree. And that point, when the creator tells those it's created, do not do this, it is introducing for the very first time, no, the word no. Before that moment, no never existed. In our development as human beings, this would be the potty training stage. This would be the stage of development where a child is taught limits, or when a child is taught, that there's something other than just never-ending indulgence. They start to learn that something else exists other than what they've already known. And they start to get the gift of being able to discern whether or not they like something or they don't like something. And they get that by having this external thing, like a tree or like a thing or a person, that gives the no. So there's the possibility of no could happen. And even in the possibility of no could happen, the being is told no, don't do this. So it's the first time these beings have ever heard this word no, don't. And that and so how well is that understood? How well is anything understood before experience? How could anything be believed that is brand new or different if it has never been known before? So the projection of wrongness goes even further than just the tree and the word no, and it is projected upon a creature that moves along the earth on its belly. So, in other words, like the underbelly, what is underneath it all? And this is the snake. So in this story, the snake is a projection of no. So the snake is just like any entity. The first time it has an opportunity to have a choice, or the first time it has an opportunity to question something, because of course you're going to question something that you've never experienced before, and there's going to be a curiosity, and eventually, humankind can keep going on and on and on, but eventually someone's going to be like, what is this? How can this be real? We don't even know what that means. No. What does no mean? Everything is yes, and this is the only thing that means no, but what is no? We don't even know what no is. So the creature tells, and in this story, because of patriarchy, it's the woman, tells the woman. So first, it's Mother Earth that's bad. The tree is bad. It's the knowledge of good and evil, but you're not supposed to have it. So you're not supposed to have discernment. You're not supposed to think for yourself. You're not supposed to question the way things are. You're supposed to have blind faith, is what is taught in a lot of these Christian ideologies. So there's that. And then so first it's Mother Earth that's evil, or, the conundrum and the mystery. And then it's the snake, which is like, well, you could do it. And Eve is like, no, we can't. And the snake is like, well, you could. You're just not, you're told not to, but you could do it. So this is the introduction of free will and choice to understand. And it is in the very act of understanding that the human comes up against deciding for oneself. There's also an element of body autonomy that's happening here. Eve, the woman in this story, is getting a choice as to what she puts in her body. She's, for the first time ever, instead of just, ignorant bliss, is like, oh, I could put that in my body, but I've been told not to. But I could do it. And it's up to me. And I've been told not to. But what does that mean, to not to? When everything has always been yes, 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 do, yes, yes, yes. What is no? What is that? What does no even mean? No must not mean the opposite of yes, because the opposite of yes couldn't possibly exist, because everything is yes. What would the opposite of yes look like? What would it be? Would it mean don't put that in my mouth? Would it mean don't eat that? So Eve eats it. And she's experimenting with body autonomy. She's experiencing with taking in the knowledge that there's a choice about what we will value and what we will experience and what we will have. And this is called free will in biblical or Christian terms, and in some theologies. It's the idea that we have the choice. But do we? That remains, it's kind of like the chicken or the egg. When you think about it, I mean, is this tree going to exist forever and no one is ever going to be like, yeah, I want to know. I don't understand what no means. Like, what? It's not saying like, I won't exist anymore if I do it. So what does that mean? Like, and so what it means is, once we have the ability to discern and have judgment, we don't get to have ignorant bliss anymore. There's feelings and consequences and an entire life experience that revolves around values and choices that we make. So that is the snake in that story is often seen as like evil, bad. It's a creature of the bad guy. It's wrong. It's saying do wrong. But depending upon, how well you're willing to understand or think, like, it's really up to you. How you have the free will to see that story and really think about it. Another association with snake I know, like, is to hypnotize. I remember in the Jungle Book, they had like a character called the snake, and it was wrapping around the boy named Mowgli. And the boy named Mowgli was similar to how the creature of Eve was, just very primal and connected with the earth, and connected with the earth more than humankind. So in the Bible story, humankind wasn't abundant. There was only 2 people. And in the story of the Jungle Book, Mowgli, in Mowgli's reality, he's the only human that exists. So it's similar to that phase of development when the baby is just learning that other humans might exist other than itself. And the snake, maybe Mowgli has like seen one other human, but the snake is Mother Earth, and it's wrapping around Mowgli and hypnotizing Mowgli. So here the snake is portrayed as something to be aware of. It could suffocate you or choke you to death. Another association that's really big here on the West Coast in the United States, well, not really big as in really big in the cultures that I tend to be around, is but it comes from the East, is Kundalini. And Kundalini is a symbol that is seen, it's represented by 2 snakes intertwined kind of in the shape of DNA, and then they're wrapped around a staff or a sword, and that's often depicted in hospitals or medicine. Well, Kundalini represents body autonomy all the way. It's all about, it's the opposite of using the body for procreation only and thinking that we don't have a choice in the matter as to whether we're using our body to procreate or whether we use our body in other ways that it can be used. And the Kundalini, these snakes, it's an energy that's depicted as snakes. It is about how we all have a creative energy and a creative force, especially those of us who are equipped to carry babies inside the body. Those folks have the ability to have creation type bliss on a multiple level repeatedly, more so than those who are not equipped to carry a baby. So that Kundalini teaches about being embodied. There's a lot in the culture, especially here in the United States and probably many cultures around the world, that teach us to disconnect from our body, because to not have body autonomy and to disconnect from our body makes us a better servant for the king or the empire or God, so to speak. But in Kundalini, it teaches that the purpose of life is to connect to the body and to be embodied and to feel the energy of the body and the energy of the Tao, which is around us. And now these are two separate, I'm talking about Taoism at the same time, but it's not exactly the same. But Taoism is the idea that energy moves through all things. Feng Shui is very similar to the idea of how energy moves through all things. That energy has a flow and a pattern, kind of like cats when they're running through a space, they run in the same way all the time. But then when you rearrange the furniture, they slam right into whatever was not there before, and it takes them a minute to redirect and figure out the new running pattern. Well, we're supposed to be doing that with our bodies. We're supposed to stay in our bodies, and we're supposed to be recognizing the flow and the energy patterns that are around us. And if those flows and energy patterns are healthy and clean and pure, we are supposed to be harnessing that and moving that through our body. And so what that means is moving the body in different ways than how the body usually moves. Most people just move like forward, left, right, forward, or bending over, or like this, and when you go to dances, especially here in the West Coast, there's a lot of, I live near a big tech industry, and the way that people dance, you can tell what they do for a living, because they tend to do the same movements that they do all the time in their dance. But Kundalini is about opening the body and changing the body. And you know how snakes move? They move like they undulate. They move from side to side. They move their body in a variety of ways. And we feel really good after we do yoga because we're moving our body in a different way. But still, when you look at the yoga magazines here in the Western culture, it tends to depict someone in positions that are very familiar to Western culture and very comfortable to Western culture. It usually shows those images. But like Cobra, for example, is a yoga position that relieves lower back pain that comes from sitting more than the body's meant to sit, because all of your organs start shutting down after 15 minutes of sitting. Sitting is the worst thing possible. If anything, laying down is much better than sitting. Our bodies are just not meant for certain movements that we do a lot of, especially here in the culture that I'm surrounded with in the United States, and maybe all around the world. I wouldn't know. I haven't been everywhere in the world. But Kundalini is about being embodied. It's about moving the body in ways that are for the self and for connecting to earth and nature. And because we're on this planet for a reason, we're on this planet to have this planet's experience. We are here to embody what is within and around us. We are here not just to ascend, not just to get out of here. The idea that we're here to get out of here is the idea that we're here to serve and serve alone, and that we're supposed to disconnect from the body to be better servants, and that if if we completely abandon the self for the purpose of service, that then afterwards, after we're gone and our life is over, then we'll be rewarded somehow. But that idea kind of mixed, that's like a Christian idea that kind of mixed with Indian philosophy. And so that's where you get like things like non-attachment in certain certain sections of Buddhism, but not all. So Kundalini is different than that. Kundalini is about um, harnessing creative energy and recognizing energy and recognizing it and moving it through the body up and down in order to create other things other than children. For more than procreation, for more than survival. Procreation, living for the purpose of procreation and service only, that's survival based. But living for the purpose of creation that doesn't have to be populating the earth is thriving, and it's more autonomous. It's the idea that there is enough abundance and now it's time to create. And to become the creator in Kundalini is to be embodied and to be autonomous. And that's considered a good thing. And it's can be used in so many ways. It can be used to create technology. It can be used to create art. It can be used to create beautiful fabrics. It can be used to create a living experience. And that we as creators it's a very good thing. But there are other religions, like the religion of the Adam and Eve and the snake, that teach it's like wrong to have free will. It's wrong to exercise free will. It's wrong to make your own choices. It's wrong to think for yourself. It's wrong to have judgment and discernment. It's wrong to have body autonomy. But in Kundalini, it's just the opposite. It's right, and it's meant to be, and it's meant to be done with spiritual, sacred meditation and regular practice. And there's so much more to it than that too. That's only what one person on the west coast of the United States who learned about this by reading books and papers and by experiencing and practicing this in dance and meditation in psychological fields of populations has experience. That's one person in like the entire 3 million people of the United States and then beyond of the world, the billions of people in the world. This is one little perspective on what that is. So those are two very different ideas of what the snake can represent. And for me, I'm really embracing the Kundalini more than the whole like introduction to autonomy. And if you have autonomy as a female, or if you have if you take free choice, you're going to be demonized, or you're going to be seen as cursed or wrong. Those are lessons that I'm like, okay, yeah, so what? Like that's the way that it is, and it always has been, and that's the master narrative of that story. But I'm much more interested in the master narrative of the story of body autonomy, of like kind of shaking things off and moving in different ways with my body than what is mostly encouraged, and really just kind of being present in my body. And I find that energy to be more healing, and I find that energy to be more authentic as to what I'm doing on this planet in a body, as what I'm supposed to be doing in this planet as a body. So I'm really gravitating towards, how would that look and how would that play out in relation to what's around me? And yes, I've had those experiences too of, like, okay, yeah, shedding the groups, shedding the relationships that are not in alignment with values. But I have a Scorpio North Node, so that has already been a story that has been in my entire life. I've had a lot of situations where like I've grown out of this situation or that situation, and I've moved 67 times, and I've had a lot of evolutions, and I'm constantly learning, and transformation is not foreign to me whatsoever. I tend to attract people that are going through transformative processes. I tend to attract them during transformative times in their life. I usually attract people that are like not just like buying a house for the first time on their own, or leaving a marriage that they've been in for a long time that is not right for them, or getting, divorced or going through empty nest syndrome. I just tend to attract people going through major transitions in their life because I've gone through so many transitions in my life. So snake energy is very much about transitions. And I'm very familiar with the idea of values and judgments and discernments, and things needing to be in alignment with what one is, kind of like the Christian Bible story. But I am very much calling in the guidance and energy of embodiment, and that type of snake energy and that type of master narrative. I'm really calling in more of that for me personally. Um, what does it feel like to be in my body and no longer eat the things that cause inflammation, and just notice in my body, like, oh, I noticed this. And I've noticed with children, when they eat ice cream, they're immediately coughing and sneezing. And I'm like, okay, is that happening to me? You know, and not even spending time to think why or why not, or discerning, or any of that. Just really just instinctually being connected with my environment, what feels good in my body and what helps me move in a different way that feels better. So I'm releasing a few years of chronic pain that I've had. I'm releasing um, attachments to roles, as in the roles that we as humans are expected to play in each other's life. I'm releasing my attachment to the idea of that and really looking at things from like a broader perspective. So some of the work that I'm doing this upcoming month is going to be around mother healing, and just, it's something I've worked on before, but just really embracing that, the idea that I possibly chose my mother before I was even born. And I chose that person because I wanted to have an experience of body autonomy. I wanted to have an experience of freedom, to be able to have a lot of love in the world. And when you get enough love from one source when you're first born, you're not out there like searching and curious about all the love in the world. You're just kind of relaxed into what you've got. I chose what I chose for a reason, because I wanted to love more. I'm really embracing that. Like, there's just, like, what are you working on shedding as far as any old belief systems and adopting new ones? The snake sheds its skin and it has a whole new skin. And we do that every day too. We shed cells constantly, and we grow new cells. They say like we shed enough skin cells for an entire body every day, something like that. We can look it up, but we operate similarly already as humans with how we shed and regrow with our own cellular regeneration. It's about cellular regeneration. Uh, and there are experiences that the other narrative about, it's wrong if you have your own choices, and it's wrong if you make your own choices in life, and if you have free will you're going to be punished, and if you have body autonomy, all of that narrative has been beaten into humanity for years to keep us subservient and to keep us serving and to get us to disconnect from our bodies. And when people are beaten enough, they get to a point where they don't feel the pain anymore. Um, and we tend to like what we're good at. So people tend to just be programmed to disassociate from the body and to not know where to stop when it comes to like physical discomforts and things like that. That narrative, because it's been beaten into us, it's when you're beaten, you're like in survival state. So I feel like for me to like level up or to evolve, it's very important for me personally to be very in touch. Like, oh, my body's not feeling so great right now. It's time to like rearrange my position. Um, it's time to do something different, and to keep my body feeling good in healthy ways. Um, so yeah. Uh, what else can I say about the year of the snake? I think it's great to look at these different ways that the snake has been represented and see how that's playing out in our life, but also know that we are the creators of our own story, and we can remember um, the master narrative that we want to have internally, and have that master narrative. We can constantly work towards giving that master narrative priority. There's so much space and time in life for us to do that. Um, and to remember that the master narrative around us might be opposite of what actually is what we want inside of us and operating through us. So yeah, I didn't mean to like get preachy. I feel like I kind of got preachy there, but I don't know. I'm just saying what's coming out, and I don't know. It'll reach those who it's meant to reach, and it'll be great for those who it's meant to be great for. But yeah, enjoy your shedding and your transformation this year, and I hope it goes smoothly, and that you get what you're trying to get out of life, and that it's just really good for you and those around you, if that's meant to be.